want to express my gratitude for him coming and speaking to us today. Grateful for the service that you give to our city. We appreciate it. Thank you. Turn the time away. And the support for the Rotary Club, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Rotarians, I appreciate this opportunity to stand before you today. It just doesn't seem like that long ago. I was first thinking maybe it was 2002 or 3. Former Mayor Brian Cook approached me and said, hey, I've got this club I think you should come learn a little more about. It's called Rotary, and invited me to my first Rotary meeting right here in this room. And I even gave a couple of presentations as a mortgage guy and shared some insight about the mortgage industry, and here we are several years later, and actually I feel like I'm home. I feel like I received my start and maybe my first networking opportunity being part of Rotary. As Chris mentioned a little earlier, I grew up next to him. I was his paper boy for several years, and I can vouch he always paid on time every month too. So it's great to be around you. But as I look at some very familiar faces, I know some of you have look at Bill, and I think he's been on like 2 or 3 missions since I've been here, but he's back, and same thing with Val, and it's fun to be back here in Rotary. Most of you know me and know my history and where I'm from, but I actually grew up in Clearfield and am a transplant to Kaysville. Love Kaysville. It's a great place to live and to own a family. I've been married for 17 years this coming Valentine's Day. Brooke and I will celebrate our 17-year anniversary. It makes it really easy for me getting married in the year 2000, because I can just say Valentine 2017, 17 years, and that was not by design, but it sure was convenient. So the older I get. And I'd just like to, I know we introduced everybody before we began, but I'd also like to give special recognition to Councilmember Larry Page, who is visiting here with us today. He's been on the City Council now for just over a year and done a tremendous job as a City Council member. We also have Maria Devereaux, who is our City Recorder, and who I like to call the superwoman who does everything, including her responsibilities as City Recorder. And then back there in the corner, and that's not by design, we have our City Manager, Shane Scott, who has been a tremendous asset to the city. Has been with us since May, technically, I guess, but been with us since June and done a great job. And we're very, very fortunate to have great elected leaders and magnificent city staff that candidly make things run the way that they should. So I'll get right into my speech, and I've put some thoughts together, and this speech is actually going to be shared in this month's Kaysville City newsletter as well. So I have a few things to add and a few additional thoughts, but I'm going to kind of use this as my outline to share with you today, and just give you one other thought. I've been really humbled at the opportunity to serve. Being in elected office is certainly not something you do for the money, and you don't do it for necessarily the appreciation or the notoriety. You genuinely do it because of the service. And I feel like throughout my entire life I've really enjoyed providing service, and my experience with Rotary has really helped me to enhance my focus on what really is important and what really matters most as it relates to service. As I noticed the 4-way test of Rotary, I think to myself, we could be well served to repeat the Rotary 4-way test at every one of our city council meetings. I'm not sure if there's something that prohibits that, but we might, maybe that's something for us to start doing. Of course, we're blessed to live in a wonderful city like Kaysville, and just to point out something in case you missed it, we tried to share it on Facebook. In November, American City and County reviewed 1,200 cities nationwide. And after reviewing all 1,200 cities, they named Kaysville as the 31st best small city in America. That is not something that comes easy, but certainly a wonderful acknowledgement and a testament of what all of us already know. Kaysville continues to grow at a rapid pace. Since I've been here as mayor, we've seen a lot of growth in the community, and even just going back a couple of decades. Sometimes as we look at this growth, we feel like we have 2 seasons in Kaysville: winter and construction. And it seems to be that way across the entire Wasatch Front, but I'm delighted that the growth that we have in Kaysville has felt responsible and has helped maintain that hometown feel. During 2016, our Community Development Department reports that 559 building permits were issued, which is 39 more than we had in 2015 and 97 more than we had in 2014. And of those 559 permits issued in the year 2016, 172 of those were for new single-family dwellings. So homes are definitely expanding, and we're growing at a pretty rapid pace. Kaysville also in 2016 surpassed the 30,000 mark in regards to population. The state, the state of Utah in their code classifies cities in different organizational classes. So we went from a 4th class to a 3rd class city. I always thought we were a 1st class city, but I guess it's just a technical definition. We also remain very optimistic that the economic growth that we've seen recently in the city will continue to grow in a reasonable manner. 2017 also marks the beginning of my 8th year as mayor and my 10th year as an elected official. As I mentioned before, I consider it an honor and privilege to serve the citizens of Kaysville. And I have some other unique responsibilities. I was recently elected by my peers, elected officials throughout the state, to serve as the president of the Utah League of Cities and Towns. Thank you. The Utah League of Cities and Towns is an organization of 247 municipalities across the state, and I get the opportunity to be their voice and help advocate for legislative issues throughout the state. In addition, being the president of the League of Cities and Towns gives me a pretty neat, unique opportunity to showcase Kaysville at every opportunity I can. It's a wonderful opportunity. The last league president that we've had from Kaysville was Rulon Barnes in 1921, so I feel like I'm following in some pretty good footsteps. This volunteer position takes a fair amount of my time, but it's something that I really appreciate, and the opportunity and the honor of my fellow elected officials to give me that opportunity. To give you a few highlights for 2016, we worked on many different issues that affected the city, and let me just name a few. First, we adopted and improved Kaysville City purchasing policy. We formed a committee that discussed the future of the old library. Many of you will recall the old Kaysville City Library, sandwiched between City Hall and the police station, is currently vacant, and we've formed a committee to give recommendations about its future. We've also secured and helped to accelerate a new signalized intersection at 200 North and Angel Street. Many of you are familiar with the new intersection at 200 North and Flint Street, which made kind of an old farming intersection more functional and makes it so you can actually move and turn and get around throughout the city. At 200 North and Angel, we have very much the same issue and the same problem. We were able to work and coordinate with UDOT, who had planned funding for that intersection for 2019, and we anticipate that that intersection will be completed and constructed by the end of this fall. So that will be a great help to the new elementary school down there that has its own has some real traffic concerns. We also formed an electrical power department commission. The city council got together, and at the recommendation of one of our city council members, Councilmember Lee, who's our liaison, suggested that we have a power commission to give feedback and give insight and advise the city council. I used to always say, as mayor, sometimes it seems a little strange to have a mortgage guy and a plumber and a seminary teacher and a drywall contractor giving advice on issues that maybe we're not familiar with. This creation of the Power Commission will give us great insight and recommendation, and they met for the very first time last night. The Kaysville City Council has also adopted a code of ethics, adopted a vehicle use policy, and we also saw the retirement of our longtime city manager, John Thacker, 2 department heads, our longtime city recorder, and all of those individuals were truly dedicated servants of this great city, and no doubt share in the credit and success that have contributed to many of the accolades that Kaysville receives today. We're also delighted, as I mentioned on our introduction earlier, to have our new city manager with us, Maria, our new city recorder, our new public works director, Josh Belknap, who's a longtime Kaysville resident and doing a wonderful job at leading those departments. We also had the formation of a new committee to begin design work for the creation and construction of Pioneer Park. Pioneer Park is a 10-acre park that's been planned for some time, but right now just a big field down on Angel Street, just south of Snowhorse Elementary and north of Jefferson Academy. That committee has already met several times. We have funding in place and hope to start construction on that park this summer. And we'll provide another great opportunity for our residents to gather together and promote family-friendly activities. Another thing, if you've been following, has been the construction of pickleball courts. How many of you have ever played pickleball before? Anybody? All right, let me see. 3 minus 20, that's about 17, too few of you. But let me just tell you, pickleball is one of the funnest things you can possibly do. I was invited for the first time by Tammy Worston to play pickleball, and I was terrible, but I was still hooked. And they talked to us a lot and said, we would sure love to see construction of pickleball courts throughout Kaysville. Of course, the problem with something like that, they're pretty pricey. The rough estimate was about $200,000 to construct a set of courts. We're hoping to get some favorable construction costs as it's about ready to go out to bid. But we issued the challenge as the city council. If you can raise half the money, the city would be interested in doing the other half, and we think we could make that dream become reality. That is a pretty significant challenge. And at no other time in my 9 years of service have I seen a group rise to the challenge and rise to the call. And to date, the update I received yesterday, they have raised $116,000 to go toward the construction of those courts. I believe we just went out to bid, or pretty close to going out to bid for those construction. We hope we will build at a minimum of 8 courts, and hope the construction terms are favorable enough where we'll have 12. And I just happened to be invited to a family night on Monday to a neighboring city at their community pool, and ran into a council member in that city that said, we're trying to figure out how Kaysville got that done, because we would love to copy you. So it's nice to be on the leading edge of the pickleball courts. We've also saw success of our Play Unplugged program. And I know this is something that's very interesting, is of interest to Rotary. We have a generation that is really oftentimes hooked to their electronic devices. I've got a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and my gut would tell me if I never told them to get off the computer, I'm not sure they ever would. So we have started a program, participated in a program called Play Unplugged. It is an incentive program that helps children get out of the house during the summertime. Our first year of doing it was last year, and we recognized it was going to take a pretty significant contribution. We received much help from the Rotary Club, and a financial donation from Zions Bank actually made it possible. And Zions has been a huge contributor to the city in a variety of ways, and honestly what I consider one of our best corporate partners, as I see a Zions Bank represented right here at the end of the table in Chris Balco. So thank you to Zions for all of their support. We adopted an active transportation plan, encouraging active transportation solutions, as we also look at ways to repair our streets and sidewalks and park strips throughout the city. We adopted a paperless city council meeting process. We've always been very proud of the efforts that we have made in transparency. You can go at any time before a city council meeting and download our agenda. You can download a PDF of the exact same packet that city council is looking at. There is nothing that we are reviewing or looking at that you don't have access to yourself. Kaysville was one of the first cities to start an online streaming of our city council meetings. It has been an interesting process, but it's been very rewarding. Any Thursday night, any first or third Thursday night, you can go to our website and get a live YouTube stream of our city council meetings. That has now been adopted throughout the state. Our IT director, who really helped spearhead that effort, has taught a class at 2 Utah League of Cities and Towns conventions of how you can be more transparent and go live for under $2,500. And it's been really neat to see cities and receive that feedback that, hey, we did that, we tried that, and now I think it's pretty commonplace, and we're proud to have helped spearhead that effort. We also, in 2018, on March 15th, 2018, our great city will celebrate its sesquicentennial, or 150th anniversary of being incorporated, which means this coming March 15th of 2017, we'll be going into that 150th year. You'll see the city do a lot of fun events leading up to that 150-year anniversary. And in addition to what we plan to do in 2017, the City Council plans to create a 5-year road plan, which is something that is very needed. You can literally feel our need for roads, as you probably drove to our meeting this morning. With that type of road plan comes some significant challenges. Roads are probably the least exciting thing that we get to do in a city, but one of our most important and one of our most costly. And that is something the City Council is working on now to come up with a plan to address our roads over the next 5 years. We have an update plan for our human resource manual, an evaluation of our current capital facilities plan, and our impact fees, ensuring that Kaysville remains positioned as a great community and being extremely business friendly. We'll see an evaluation of our automated power and water meters, making reading and data evaluations much easier and more accurate. The technology has come to a point where as users, you could easily pull out your phone and look at your usage that you've done for the month, as opposed to waiting 30 days after the month is over to realize how you probably should have turned that thermostat down in the middle of the summer. That is something that we are also looking forward to and implementing. Of course, it will take over some time. We're also working on improved cooperation, creating equitable options for solar customers. Solar has been something that has been in the news a lot lately. Kaysville is in its own unique position since we own our own power company. And we don't have quite the same regulations as, say, Rocky Mountain does when we come to decisions like implementing any certain fees or restrictions. And so we have had several meetings with the solar community. Councilmember Page and I have been in one just recently, and I think they've appreciated the approach that Kaysville has taken. That said, we want to make sure that we do it right. And part of our focus in this coming year with our new Power Commission will be come up with some recommendations that encourage solar use and make it fair and equitable for all electrical users. Fortunately, Kaysville is very economically healthy. We continue to balance our governmental funds each year. We recently received a fiscal year 2016 audit and were given a clean financial bill of health from our independent auditors. We make every effort to recruit new businesses in our community, but we also recognize the needs of a bedroom community. We will continue our focus on financial efforts, livability, including recreational activities, parks, sense of community, low crime rates, amazing schools, a focus on family, and zoning that is conducive to maintaining property values and Kaysville's unique small town feel. I think Kaysville is a community, I feel that Kaysville is a community that many, many look up to. You say Kaysville and people just say, oh, I love Kaysville. And it's one of those things that you almost can't explain the very reasons why, but it's a feel, it's truly a feel of Utah's hometown, and that's our number one priority, is growing in a way that is responsible, growing in a way that is smart, but ensuring that we don't disrupt that unique hometown feel, that Mayberry feel that Kaysville provides to all of its residents and businesses. The 2017 Kaysville City budget totals $37 million. $13.5 million of that is responsible for public works, parks, recreation, roads, police, fire, and other governmental services, which are mostly paid for through sales tax and property tax. $15 million of our overall budget is in our power fund, and the remaining $8.5 million is made up of other small funds, including culinary water, sewer, stormwater, secondary irrigation, and solid waste and recycling. While it's anticipated that property tax rates will remain stable through 2017, the City Council will be met with addressing some specific needs, as we mentioned, for road maintenance and repair. One of our biggest challenges in 2017 will be maintenance and reconstruction of many of our roads. Creative ideas will be required to meet this challenge in 2017 and beyond. To provide a perspective of our property tax rates in Kaysville, when compared with the other 15 Davis County cities, Kaysville ranked as number 10 of the 15 Davis County cities, with 9 cities paying more in city taxes and only 5 that pay less than Kaysville. As you look at your property tax bill that's received every month, approximately 14% of that overall property tax bill comes to Kaysville City. You'll also see in other cities, many other cities pay for some of their core services through the use of special service districts, charging citizens amounts in addition to their property tax, but this is not the case in Kaysville. In the recent past, Kaysville received over $3 million in grants, donations, and in-kind services. $3 million. We look forward to the $2.5 million on outside aid this year alone that will help in the construction of Angel Street and 2nd North, as I mentioned just a few moments ago. Things are very bright. We have a wonderful city. We're fortunate to work in such a wonderful city. And in closing, I would just like to say, in one of our recent training meetings in 2016, a presenter made the following statement. He said, "The people that are going to make your community great live in your community already." This is absolutely the case in Kaysville. We're very blessed. We're very thankful to live in a city that has such a low crime rate, has such beautiful surroundings. And the reason why all that is possible is because of the wonderful people that live here. Thanks to all of you who volunteer your time, your services, your thoughts, and your ideas, especially to the Rotary Club, which in my view stands as a beacon of what service should be. You are all come here every week and look for opportunities to give back to your community. Not only are you not compensated, you even pay monthly dues to get together, to come and come up with ways to support your city. We have the highest amount of respect for all of you and appreciate all you have done for our community. I'm so grateful to serve as your mayor and look forward to great things to come. Thank you.